With the growing interest in analog photography, as Bastian so inspiringly explores in his Analogue Adventures, I too have decided to create a series of film-related articles. I've chosen not to use the same title, as my own relationship with film photography goes back to the time when it was simply photography to me. While film photography would feel like the most natural title, I've decided to go with analog photography instead, to keep a sense of continuity with Bastian's series. To offer some context, let me take you back to where it all began, a journey that, I suspect, may feel familiar to others who started their photographic path around the same time I did. If that's you, chances are you have also been around long enough to remember when film wasn't the choice, but the default. As a young teenager in the late 70s, I developed a growing interest in drawing and pictures, which led my parents to give me my first camera, a simple point-and-shoot 110 camera. At first I was thrilled just to have a camera of my own, but after shooting 2 or 3 rolls of film, I began to notice its limitations. After a year, and a good deal of persistent nagging, my mother bought me a much better 35mm rangefinder camera with manual adjustment possibilities and a fantastic fixed 40mm f1.7 lens. The difference in image quality was striking. I could finally capture the world the way I saw it. A lot of family photos were taken over the next couple of years, all on color negative film. That was simply what everyone used back then for family photography. I became proficient enough that even some relatives asked me to photograph their children's birthday parties, and eventually, even a wedding. Which, thinking back, was quite remarkable for a kid still in his mid-teens. Then again, they were probably just trying to save money. During my late teens, my interest in photographing more than just family and friends really began to grow. I took on summer jobs and carefully saved both my earnings and pocket money to buy a used SLR camera, along with 3 lenses, a standard 50mm f1.4, a 28mm f2.8 wide angle, and a 135mm f2.8 telephoto. That's when I truly began to learn the fundamentals of photography, experimenting with depth of field, composition, light, and a variety of films. I tried different brands and film speeds, mostly color negatives, which I had developed and printed at local photo labs. But now that I was taking photography more seriously, I began to notice things I had previously overlooked. The results were often inconsistent. Colors would sometimes shift, prints came out too light or too dark, and occasionally the tones looked washed out, possibly due to overused chemicals in the lab. It was a nightmare because you could never be sure where things had gone wrong. Had I exposed the film incorrectly? Was the lighting off? Were there any issues with the film's color balance? Did something go wrong during development or printing? Or was it just a different kind of paper this time? The learning curve quickly became long and steep. At the same time, I had started reading photography books and studying the work of the old masters, which opened my eyes to the expressive potential of black and white. Through those books, and with advice from a few seasoned photographers, I realized that if I wanted results that matched my vision, I would need to take control of every step in the process, not just choosing the film and taking the pictures, but also developing the negatives, enlarging the prints, and even selecting the right photographic paper. At the time, color photography was often seen as suitable mainly for snapshots, while black and white carried a more serious, classic reputation. The fact that many established photographers like Robert Mapplethorpe, Jerry Ullsman, and Sebastião Salgado, among others, continued to work exclusively in monochrome further shaped my thinking. I remember reading that even after William Eggleston, one of the pioneers of color photography, had his groundbreaking 1976 solo exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, Henri Cartier-Bresson reportedly told him at a dinner party, "Color is bullshit." That, combined with the earlier mentioned challenges of working with color, ultimately inspired me to switch to black and white and learn how to develop and print my own photographs. I bought several books on the subject and teamed up with a friend who shared my growing passion. They had the space, so we built a home darkroom in their basement, which I was also able to use. For many years, I developed and enlarged my own black and white negatives. The first year or two, always in that friend's basement, a time when home computers were still unheard of and far from anyone's everyday reality. I spent so many hours in the darkroom that his family eventually gave me my own key, so I could go there even when he wasn't home. Sometimes his mother would come down with a sandwich, saying I must be hungry, and I even ended up sleeping over there occasionally. Gradually, I got better. Not quite an Ansel Adams or Cartier-Bresson, but I had reached a level I felt content with. At least that's what I thought at the time. Over the years, I've come to realize that not only was I far from fully mastering black and white photography, but also, looking back, I now see just how impatient and careless I could be. In particular, I rushed the fixing and even more so, the washing of my negatives. At the time, they looked fine, and I didn't think much of it. But over the years, that impatience has come back to haunt me. Many of my negatives have deteriorated, with tiny spots where the emulsion has lifted or disappeared entirely. So, here's a piece of advice. If you develop your own film, be really thorough with the fixing boss and rinsing your negatives. A few extra minutes and a couple of more liters of water now can save you from a lot of anguish and regret later. Still, the temptation of color had always bubbled inside me. This review is also available in written form on our blog, where you'll find more photography-related articles, as well as in-depth reviews of lenses and other gear. If you are planning to buy any photography equipment or anything else online, you can support our work by using the links in the description. It won't cost you anything extra, but it helps us a bit. You can also support the channel directly through donations. Until the next video, have a fantastic day, everyone.